Okay, so today I'm doing my November TBR, talking all the books I plan to read in November of 2023. Before we go any further, hashtag save the monthly TBRs. I am not seeing monthly TBR videos anymore these days, or really seldom seeing them. So if you are a booktuber, please bring them back. And if you know booktubers, please ask them to bring them back. Let's start this campaign. Hashtag save the TBRs. Alright, now before I get into my November TBR, I just want to explain that if you're new here, well, please like and subscribe and hit that bell so you can get all the notifications. Welcome, it's wonderful to have you here. Twice a year, in July and in December, I do my favourites and non-favourite series of videos where I talk about favourite books, favourite series, least favourite books, least favourite series, all that kind of stuff. Because of that, I am predominantly going to be doing rereads in December. So, November is the last chance for me to read new books to me that may make it on my top favourites or even top non-favourites books of the year. There are 12 books I plan to read in the month of November, so let's find out what those books are. The first book that I plan to read in the month of November 2023 is this book, which is Princess Gambit by C.S. Picard. This is book number 2 in the Captive Prince trilogy. It is an adult male fantasy, but the male aspects are definitely not romance. At least they weren't in book number 1. And there are some trigger warnings if you do want to read at least book 1. I'll tell you if there are trigger warnings for book 2 once I've read it. So anyway, I read book number 1 in 2020. I liked it. I wanted to continue on with the series. In that same year, I purchased book number 2, and it grew old and dusty on my TBR shelf. So I've decided to rescue it. I already have a plan to add the Captive Prince trilogy to my SAS list for 2024, so I will complete the series next year. Finally getting to book number 2, a good pretty much 3 years after I read book 1, but I remember enough and I remember how we left off, so I am intrigued to see how things will continue moving forward. The next book I plan to read is also a book that I've had on my TBR for a while. Not the physical book, but the idea of reading the book. So I think it was last year when I set up a video for my birthday, to celebrate my birthday, where I asked some of my fellow booktuber friends to recommend some books for me to celebrate my birthday. One of the books that came up in that video was this book, The Couple Next Door, which is by Shari LaPena. This is an adult thriller. It was recommended to me because I love my thrillers, and I have since then heard a lot about Shari LaPena as an author. I've been told by many people that Shari LaPena is a fantastic thriller author and that I will love their works. This is my first time reading a Shari LaPena, so I will see how I go. The next book that I plan to read is actually going to help me with my SAS list for 2024. So I'm going to have the Coffee House Mystery Series by Cleo Coyle on my SAS list in 2024. I have to date read the first 6 books. I decided to make life a little more easy on myself, and so I'm going to read the next 2 books that I'm up to in the Coffee House Mystery Series in November to get a good head start. So the third book that I plan to read in the month of November is this book, Espresso Shot by Cleo Coyle. This is book number 7 of 20 in the Coffee House Mystery Series. It's an adult cozy mystery. I have loved this series so much so far. The cozy side revolves around coffee to the umpteenth degree. If you love coffee as much as myself and Lorelei Gilmore, you will love this series because Cleo Coyle delves into so much information about coffee. It's like coffee overload, but in the best possible way. I cannot wait to get back into this series. So following Espresso Shot, I will read this book, Holiday Grind by Cleo Coyle, which is book number 8 in that same Coffee House Mystery series. Once again, an adult cozy mystery. The next book that I plan to read is this book, The Distance Between Us by Casey West. This is a YA male-female romance, and I kind of have this goal to read as many Casey West books as I can. I want to be more of an eclectic reader, or well, I've always had the goal to be an eclectic reader and to read from as many genres as I can. I've read a ton of male LGBTIQ plus romantic books, but not a lot of straight male-female romance books, and I've read a couple of Casey West books. I've actually read 4 of her works, and I think I liked, or shall I say I loved 2 of them, and I liked the other 2. So I'm going to keep going, but I am a bit nervous to see how I'll go with this one, because the last book I read of Casey West, I think I gave it 3 stars. So we'll see how we go, but it's going to be good to read another male-female romance at the very least. The next book that I plan to read is going to help me with my SAS list for 2023, and that is to read this book, Death of a Blueberry Tart by Lee and Hollis. This is book number 12 in the Haley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery series, and let me tell you, I cannot wait to get into this book, because for the first time since January of this year, this month in October, I read no Haley Powell, and I miss my Haley Powell so much. So yeah, cannot wait to get into this one. This is book number 12. In the series. There are 16 books out so far in the series. I plan to get through the first 13 in 2023. So by reading 12 this month and 13 next month, I will have completed that goal. And then I will be spending January, February, and March of 2024 reading the final 3 books to get up to date. And if they release another book, if they release book 17, then of course I will add that to my list as well. This has been an absolutely fantastic cozy mystery series, and I do highly recommend it. I think that if you want to, you can skip books 4 and 6, but I've absolutely loved the rest of them so much and given many of them overwhelming 5 stars. The cozy side of this series is that we follow a writer of a vlog for a newspaper company. Anyway, so she writes this column, basically, the Island Times Food and Cocktail Mystery, Island Times Food and Cocktail column for her local newspaper, whereby piece and pass throughout the series we get to read these columns, and Haley Powell, our protagonist, will talk about something that she has done on a certain day, like a memory or something, and then tie that into a cocktail and a food recipe. And I love the columns so much. I don't always love the mystery, but I do always love the cozy side and the cozy feel of this series, and I do highly recommend it. The next book that I plan to read is this book, the Minna Lima version of The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. This is an adult classic, and it will be the final Minna Lima Classic Edition that I have left to read. So I'm excited to read that, and then next year they're bringing out, or sorry, not next year, they've already brought out Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Other Grimm Tales, something like that. I am getting that book for Christmas. I'm very excited, and then I will have the complete classics collection for the Minna Lima editions. I will be honest with you, these Minna Lima editions are incredibly expensive, but for me, they are worth it. The books are incredibly beautiful, and I, of course, plan to hold on to them to the end of time, and then, you know, when I leave this world, I'll bequeath them to someone that I love. The books are worth it for me, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't usually go out of my way to spend a lot of money, and I didn't with these ones either. I got them for birthday and Christmas presents, so I'm happy to be catching up. I have seen the Disney animated version of The Jungle Book, so I'm intrigued to read the original canonical version by Rudyard Kipling. The next book I plan to read is a new release cozy mystery series, book number 1, that has me so very excited that I really hope it doesn't let me down. And that book is called Bored to Death by C.J. Connor. This is book number 1 in the male cozy board game shop mystery series. I am very excited to read this. So I am a massive lover of the Secrets and Scrabbles series by Josh Lanyon. I am completely up to date with that series, and we don't know when the next book is going to come out because Josh Lanyon has said that she would like to, Josh Lanyon is a pen name for a female author, she would like to take a bit of a break. So we don't know when the next one is coming out, and we just have to wait. So for me, I'd love to get into a new male cozy mystery series, and this just sounds amazing. Not only is it a male cozy mystery series, but it is set in a board game shop. Are you kidding me? I am so excited to get into this one. By the way, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. And if you have any male cozy mystery series that are not the Secrets and Scrabbles or this series, please let me know them in the comment section below, because I would love to read more male cozy mystery series in my reading future. Very much looking forward to reading Bored to Death. The next book I plan to read is this book, Stuart Little by E.B. White. This is an adult classic, and I am very excited to read the canonical work, considering how much I love the movies, plural. So there is Stuart Little 1, the movie, and Stuart Little 2, the movie. I love them so much. What was that guy's name? Michael J. Fox portrays Stuart Little in such a good way. If you haven't seen the movies, I highly recommend them. And obviously the movies are the adaptation of the original work. So I am incredibly excited to go back and read the original, intentional, canonical work that E.B. White wrote of this not only classic, but very well known and very beloved book, Stuart Little. Also, very quick shout out to the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. There is a quote that Mrs. Doubtfire says to Natalie, the youngest child, when she is auditioning to become the housemaid, I guess, the housekeeper, whatever you call it. And she says to Natalie, "Have you read the book Stuart Little?" And Natalie says, "Yes, it's one of my favorites." And Mrs. Doubtfire says to her, "Ooh, mine too. Maybe I'll read it to you if I get the position." So a shout out to Mrs. Doubtfire as well, because that helped me to realize that it's actually a book and not just a film series. So very much looking forward to reading Stuart Little. The 10th book, because I am crazy and I'm going to read 12 books in the month of November. Wish me the best of luck. The 10th book that I plan to read, just as with the Coffee House Mystery series, the 10th and 11th book that I plan to read in November are going to help me with my 2024 SAS list. And that is to read the next two books that I am up to in the Campers and Criminals Cozy Mystery series. Who knew I would miss this series as much as I have? I have held off for the longest time because I didn't have room on my TBR for this series, but next year, watch out, because my TBRs are going to be dominated by the Campers and Criminals series. I believe there will be, by the end of next year, 35 books in this series. I plan to get all of them done by the end of next year. So yeah, naturally, my TBR will be dominated by this series next year. But I thought, just like with the Coffee House Mystery series, a great way to have a good, nice head start to help me out, if you will, would be to read the next two books that I'm up to. So I've read books 1 and 2. So the next book that I plan to read in November of 2023 is this book, Forests, Fishing and Forgery by Tonya Kappas. This is book number 3 in that series. And the following book, book 11, that I plan to read in November of 2023 is this book, Christmas, Criminals and Capers by Tonya Kappas, which is book number 4 of, 36 by next year in the Campers and Criminals mystery series. So yeah, I've only read the first 2 books and I'm already in love with this series for many reasons. One of the biggest selling points I can give you is that they're incredibly short. Cozy mystery books are incredibly short anyway, well, unless you're Libby Klein, bless her, and you're writing the Poppy McAllister mystery series, because they're very long, those books. But these ones are like novella length. They're really, really short. But just because a book is short, just because a book is a novella, doesn't mean it doesn't pack a really good punch. And Tonya Kappas just seems to have this gift of writing short, cozy mysteries that still feel very well-rounded to me. From what I remember, where it's set at a camping ground, and the protagonist, who I honestly don't remember the protagonist's name, but she ends up there for reasons that I won't get into because that's a spoiler, and she meets everyone that's there and they become like a family with her after, I think she just broke up with or divorced or something, her partner. So yeah, it's like a found family cozy mystery set in a caravan park, and I loved the first two books so much, so I can't wait to read books 3 and 4. The final book, because yes, once again, Mr. Francy is crazy and he wants to read 12 books in November. The final book that I plan to read in the month of November is this book, 2389 by Ian Rob Wright. As I was saying earlier, I don't plan to read many new books in December because of the fact that I'm doing my favorites and non-favorites of the year and want to wrap up the qualifiers for those favorites and non-favorites by the end of November. But I do want to get through as many Ian Rob Wright standalones as I can, and so I decided to put this one in at the last book that I read for November, and it's a very short book. So Ian Rob Wright, I'm starting to develop an Ian Rob Wright shelf at the moment. I think I've read like 9 or 10 of his works so far. I've either read 9 and this is my 10th, or I've read 10 and this is my 11th, one of the two. And look, Ian Rob Wright is a fantastic author. When he's on, he is on. And oh my goodness, he writes adult horrors that are horrors that cross every line you can cross because they're adult horrors. But some of them to me have just been personally a little bit disappointing. Not to say that they're not fantastic books, but they haven't been as horrific as some of his others. So I'm really hoping that 2389 that Ian Rob Wright goes for it in this book and we get a really horrific story, because that is the point of a horror. In my opinion, everyone has different opinions with horrors. I understand that. Don't come for me. But in my opinion, when I read a horror, it needs to be full on horrific. Otherwise, what's the point of me, in my opinion, reading a horror? I should not have to, say all those, prefaces. Like, I preface this by saying, this is my opinion, but it is. I understand that horror readers are not monoliths, and they all, every horror reader out there will pick up a horror for their own individualistic reasons, which are very varied. So I understand that. But for me, when I pick up a horror, it needs to be a horrific book. If it's not a horrific book, to me, it's a waste of my time. So, to wrap that up, what I'm trying to say is I'm really hoping 2389 is a full-on horror like what I'm used to with some of Ian Rob Wright's books that I've read so far. But there you go. Those are the 12 books that I plan to read in the month of November. And once I've read 2389, I will have read all the books that I plan to have as a qualifier for my favorites and non-favorites for 2023. Oh my goodness, what books are you planning on reading in the month of November 2023? Let me know in the comments section below. Do not forget to hashtag save the TBR videos. I really hope to see more TBR videos coming out for November than I did for October, and I cannot wait to see as many of them as I can. If you've done a TBR video for November or even for October, please leave the link in the comment section below, because I want to see more TBR videos. We need to bring them back. Okay? Hashtag save the TBRs. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it. I'm going to let you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone!